is. Oh, look. We're actually live. Please tell me someone can say video. Say hello here. Getting kicked off. Failing to start. Could be unrelated, but... Oh, look. Hey, we're here now.
Nice.
Yeah, so now we're here. I'll pop the chat back out.
So we're the most live that we can be right now.
We're the most live. It is funny, we lost people, now they're coming back. We went down to 40, we're back up to 50. Let's get everyone up to 62.
Nice.
We'll watch the live numbers roll back up.
Huh.
Oh, so today's a fun day. Welcome to Vlog Thursday, episode 137, and we have a guest.
My name is, well, you can call me Christoph. I work for a MSP in the area, so
Yeah.
I'm here for the week. Moved to Oregon, so I'm glad to be back in Detroit. So yeah, I miss the rain. I really miss humidity.
Yeah. The he took the plunge and moved all the way across the other side of the country to a very different environment. It's a lot more beautiful than Detroit. There's no doubt about that.
It definitely is. It's give and take. I mean, everyone asks me. I've had so many people ask me, "Oh, how's Oregon?" And I said, "Well, it's awesome, but there are always caveats. It's super dry. We're constantly watching out for fires. But with that said, I see mountains all the time. And,
yeah, every time you post a picture on like your Twitter or anything like that, it's like I'm like that looks like where I want to be right now.
Yeah, we love it, and it's cool because work will fly me in every once in a while, and I get to go see family, so it's a win-win. I love it. So
Xavier says Xtoff. Yeah, that's the Twitter. So he does work for MSP, but he has a very interesting job. He does the pen testing, so to speak, and you're kind of like red teaming against yourself, against the company to make sure people are doing things right. And I did not finish. I actually have 2 videos I did because cybersecurity, and we started this conversation, before the video, and I figured, hey, we just got to, have them on live stream, put this all on video because the MSPs are under attack, and it's because they don't have people like that internally poking at things and making sure that everything's secure, looking for it. As a matter of fact, these MSPs are being tested by bad actors who find out, hey, look, I can get in here. Hey, look, I can have control over 1,000 computers rather quickly. So thought it'd be relevant to have them on the show and just talk about that, answer questions. And, I'm always encouraging more people to get into cybersecurity because would you say there's still a shortage of cybersecurity engineers?
That's a good question. There is kind of a shortage, and it's because we're still at the beginning of. So all the breaches started maybe 6-7 years ago. All these major breaches, and so a lot of people in security were initially just filling a role because security was never a big thing.
Yeah, and it wasn't defined.
Yeah, so what happened with the industry is, oh no, everyone's getting hacked, so let's get this guy who's been doing Windows stuff for all of his life. Let's get this Linux guy, this networking guy. All of a sudden, we have a team of security guys, or security guys and girls, security engineers and analysts. So it's still, I don't want to say it's in its infancy, but I wouldn't say that it's a full-blown industry that's fully matured yet. So yeah, it's and with that said, I always tell people because a lot of people go to school for InfoSec now, and I tell people, this is all good and dandy, but just get your foot in the door. The best security people I've ever worked with have actually worked in the industry in other departments. So it always helps to have that background education as well.
Oh, yeah. So could you guys touch on what happened at the whole Ninja RMM fiasco? I guess which one? And we can probably go a little bit further. It's not just Ninja, and it's not necessarily Ninja's fault. You have Ninja, Kaseya, ConnectWise. I use Screen Connect. I love their software. And all these come down to the same problem. the tool was abused. You know, with great power comes great responsibility, and sometimes that responsibility means you should turn on two-factor and not reuse passwords. It's security 101 that was missed. So I'm assuming when you talk about these disasters with the RMM tools, the tools were just used against people. It wasn't the fault of the tool. The tool was made to make our job easier by allowing us to scale and manage computers at scale. I want to be able to deploy this update on all these computers. I want to patch this software on this 1,000 computers. A script will let me do that. The same script, same PowerShell script will allow me to deploy ransomware on 1,000 computers. And that's kind of why his role at the company is so important, of going through and checking and thinking. You have to really put a black hat on. You have a brown one on now, but you got to put the black hat on and go, I'm going to get someone. I think that your talk is for the first time I met you, and it was about how you fished your own company.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It's honestly, and I've been at my company for almost 12 years, and to this day, hands down, it was the best 2 hours of my career, I would say. So, I was watching the logs for a little while. It was just great for the whole afternoon. I think I stayed up later just to watch the logs.
That was like, what, 4 years ago? 5?
I think it was. Yeah, it's been about 4 years.
Yeah, so
I think it has been.
And it's funny. I mean, he was cutting edge back then. This was cutting, and now it's more commonplace. There's actually services like Know Before, and you were doing it before that was even an option. Like, you just knew it had to be done. You knew they might click on email. So doing that against your own staff, that's it smiles about it still.
And actually that and that was part of it too. Was there were very few tools out there, and the tools that were out there were very expensive. And actually, I've got to give a shout out to I think it's Lucy Security, which is another really good phishing tool. You can actually deploy that internally, and you can.
What's the name of it?
I think it's lucysecurity.com, with no e. It's
just
Lucy. Yeah,
okay.
Should be a monkey that shows up or something.
Well, they're gonna look for the monkey.
Yeah, their mascot's a little monkey.
Okay.
So I've communicated with them a little bit. We never ended up using them at our company because we're just not at that point where we can deploy that and actively maintain it right now. But I like this because you can do free demos and whatnot for up to 5-10 users.
And it's even for a small team trying to fish just a couple people. My staff's watching, but I will still try to fish them maybe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And the thing that I really like about it is I got into the tool. I'm like, wow, you can actually create malware in this thing. Like it's so good that I wouldn't be surprised if malicious actors would actually use something like this.
It starts, I mean, a lot of it starts with just a template and an idea.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're seeing with specifically, is I have a little bit of inside information on some of the MSP attacks from people who do the breach remediation, and we're seeing reused passwords, and which obviously is a big no-no, but it's happening. But that's how the bad actors are starting with their list. They're not looking for the MSP and phishing them. They already have a password list. When the things that was disclosed, Kaseya, the big RMM tool, I think it was Kaseya, and they posted this into Reddit, and I covered this a little while ago. When someone breached that MSP, Kaseya's like, we've seen a different IP login, but they had the username and password. They did not guess. There's not a list of guessed passwords. They logged in on the first try. That's huge.
Wow.
That is one of, when you look at indicators, you're like, okay, someone has a list.
Mm-hmm.
The suspicion right now is that list might be some. Let's look at like IT conferences, for example. Where would all these IT people who work for MSPs all put their username, which is pretty much always their email address and password? And is that database leaky somewhere? They've been looking on the dark web and they haven't found like a list, but each one of these MSPs is like the MO is the same. They walked right in. They had a username and password. There wasn't any 2FA, so they didn't have any other resistance. And that's why it's just so important to double check and make sure all that's turned on. It's not that these tool companies are at fault. Well, I still blame them just a little bit because SolarWinds is what we use, and they don't give us an option. You can't turn off 2FA.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
okay.
Matter of fact, they let us know when they force it to it. They send out the warning letters like your accounts are going to be disabled that aren't 2FA until you enable them. Like
Wow.
everybody's locked out. It just brings you to the 2FA page if you don't have it turned on, which we've had it turned on since before it was mandated. We've been using SolarWinds for like 5 years now, but these other companies, it's one of those sales problems. The sales guys going, you're gonna have our clients leaving. You're gonna upset our customer base, and that's where security people just gotta
Yeah.
stay. You probably get some crack the whips.
Yeah, because it comes down to reputation, really.
Yeah.
Because if these companies allow logins without 2FA or MFA, it comes down to, hey, this software was breached. And then it looks bad on that company. It looks bad on the vendor who actually develops the software. So, the industry. So there's still this mentality of if it's not easy, I don't want to do it. But with that said, I think it's changing, and what we like to do at our company is kind of start our new hires off with that process of instilling this security mindset.
Yeah.
Because and you don't know where people have come from and what kind of background they have in security. So it's always good to kind of say, hey, this is how you become safe on, and we it's not just in the business. Don't go on this website and that website while you're at work. You have to do it at home too. It's an all-encompassing thing, because not only do you have internet at work, you have it in your pocket.
Yeah. There's every step of the way you have to have that. And one of the pushes we do for clients is when we take on a client, one of the questions we have, all right, we're going to secure all your computers, and but do you have anything from home? Well, nothing. Even if you use it once in a while, even if it's only once a month, we need to cover that device at home as part of the security package, because I can't put all this great security in your office and then you have this one computer flapping out in the wind that you log into that has credentials to get onto your network and a VPN. That's the pivot point. Even if it's not on very often, you'd have to do it top to bottom with the security.
And that's why for 2FA, say like Duo or whatever you use, a lot of these tools will actually do security checks on the device that they're on.
Yeah.
Whether it's your phone or your computer, and it says, well, this is out of date or that's out of date. And where, on the back end, people can configure that saying, all right, if the browser is more than X days out of date, do not allow them on the network.
Right.
And it's, you almost have to, you do have to force this. And again, with being secure in your personal life, we get these reports where there are these lists of owned websites. That's with all these, and I don't know if you've seen them before, but all these email addresses and passwords, and this website was, just to name one big one like LinkedIn, that happened a while ago. But even some game services, like there was like World of Warcraft Online or something, and we got this report saying, oh, by the way, your domain is here in this report. Here are all the email addresses, and it's like, why are people using their business email addresses to log into personal stuff? So not only should you not reuse your passwords, but you shouldn't use your work email for personal business as well.
Keeping that separate is huge.
Yeah, it really is, and it's and I'm not blaming people for not knowing, but that's kind of where the industry is headed now, is security awareness training, and it's. And sure, yeah, security awareness training is becoming mandatory in some places, but it really has to be. And the big challenge right now is making security awareness training actually effective. And that's been the big discussion for the past few years is, yeah, we do it, but people aren't retaining the information. They're not following through on what they learn. So there are a lot of platforms out there for security awareness training now, and we'll see where that ends up.
Yeah, and all is not doom and gloom. I got to visit a client, potential client. I was working with another company that contracted me for the network engineering part of the sales. So they had a cool solution they want to sell, and I can't unfortunately talk all the details. Maybe if they get the bid I can. But so I come in there. But one of the things that impressed me about the company and the important of the story is there are companies that do good OPSEC, and I got to witness this one. So first thing I got to do is get buzzed into the first set of double doors. Then in this little kiosk, you're in the little bubble, and the security desk watches you. They're just like, I see you in the bubble there, but I'm not buzzing it because there's a tablet. The tablet says you had to already have your name registered and who was going to greet you at the door. You had to put that information in a tablet.
Oh.
Then you had to sign the NDA on the tablet. You sign and agree to the NDA that you're not talking about things you see in this company.
Right.
Then, after they do that, the badge printer starts kicking out the badges for us, and then they hit the buzzer and let us in, and they hand us badges. As soon as we walk through the doors, here's your badge. And you don't go here until the person upstairs, who, don't worry, he got the email when you signed in, he's coming down to walk you to where you're going to go, and you will not leave the area he takes you in. And then we're in the call center, and this goes a step further. The call center people, who I was even talking to the girls, I was waiting on some stuff to load, and she used to work for AutoZone, like doing call center stuff. You're not talking about someone who's technical. This is not a technical company I'm at. And when I asked her to help me with something, before she even moved from the cubicle where she was to there, as she slid back from her desk, she did the salute and locked her computer just to come over and help me move a plug and then log back in.
That's great.
I was like, these people
really
have
nice.
been trained.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to see this company in the news anytime soon. I'm like, I was just smiling, and I actually commented to the tech person I was there with. I'm like, this place has good OPSEC. I was watching. They don't even have. You've undoubtedly seen the cheat on the doors where they have the motion sensor, and you can stick the little stick between. Yeah. Nope, none of that. All the doors, no magnets on them, no motion sensors. Everything was like they had to buzz you in implicitly.
Wow.
So like,
that's great. That's great.
Every little hack I could think of.
Yeah,
would have been thwarted. Like, you were not walking in this place.
Yeah, and it's funny about the locked computers thing is ever since I worked at the company I'm at now, if you don't lock your computer, someone's going to screw with you. So that really encourages you to lock your computer, and it's not like it's completely malicious stuff. Although a few years ago, I remember someone actually logged on to someone's Facebook account and changed their background. Actually, that was my computer. Someone logged into my account. Because I was already logged in. Of course, you're logged into Facebook, and it, they like updated my personal profile photo and my background and everything. I'm like, oh my gosh.
They will certainly take liberties of it.
They really do. And flipping the screen upside down is another thing people like doing. It's like Windows key up or I can't remember. Yeah,
there's a key. If you have the Intel network adapter, there's a shortcut key to do it. And if you don't know that magic shortcut key, it's a real pain to switch it because everything's reversed. Yeah. Like even the mouse. And I've taken the mouse and just spun the mouse around. That's a quicker way to do it, actually.
I've actually done that myself before.
Yeah.
So
that's a fun way to do it. Now, someone commented, and I tweeted this the other day. I think the number's now bigger as they learn more. There was a leaky database that had 419 million numbers leaked from Facebook, basically phone numbers associated with the account.
Wow. I didn't hear about that one.
Yeah. I have a different perspective on social media. I do use it, and people are like, well, you are in this world of tech, and you talk security, but I see you have a Facebook profile. One of the things is I've been on forums and such since the BBS days. And prior to me putting my own name, like I did in Facebook, Tom Lawrence, my actual name on there, I've always thought of BBS as a place where I controlled what you know about me. I control the narrative. So when social media came around, I'm still controlling the narrative. There's nothing on Facebook I didn't want you to know. I've never, from day one, ever thought of it as a trusted place I could put in that privacy button actually means something. Right. I just never thought about it that way. I'm like, it's just a BBS. Anyone could at any given time know whatever backend information. Therefore, I will only provide a narrative by which I control. Therefore, I never worry about Facebook because I think that's the perspective I try to preach to people because there's all those shadow accounts and everything else. Facebook creates profiles on people who don't even use Facebook. I seen a great, I think it was Wired just released I didn't read it, but I like the title. My dad never used Facebook, but they had a profile on him even after he died, and there's all these shadow profiles. I'm like, yeah, Facebook is doing everything they can to collect data on people. That's a given. Feed them the data that you want them to have, and just accept that like that. You can still use the tool, but don't do things like, and there's always those great stories. I had a friend who contacted me. my daughter got fired. I don't think it's legal what they did. I'm like, what did they do? Well, she was on Facebook posting and complaining about her boss, and she forgot she friended him. And that was his comment. Did you forget you friended me? And she's like, oh crap. Like,
Yeah.
And he's like, I don't think he should be able to fire her for something she posted on her personal Facebook about her boss. I'm like, nothing. I don't know the legal side of it. I'm gonna probably go with they did fire her. Probably they can fire her.
Yeah, probably.
If you don't want someone to know something, don't put it on Facebook. Don't trust Mark to, use the privacy button. That's been my theory. So anything I've ever posted is 100% for public consumption. Like I post on there.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't want those nudes on there, don't put them on there and send private. I don't even message people with the Facebook Messenger with anything that would be too personal or too private because I don't trust them.
Yeah, and actually that's a good point. And to go back to LinkedIn, one of the tactics to figure out what a business runs in their infrastructure, go look at profiles. Go look at LinkedIn profiles and look at people's look at their expertise.
Yeah.
And sometimes people will specifically name this, and this, and the tools and some tools, they don't really matter that much, but when you're getting into actual, like, what kind of routers and, what kind of VPNs and this and that, then it can get kind of fishy. But, yeah, so watch out what you put on LinkedIn. And actually, one tactic is to actually, if you want to figure out what is in an infrastructure, go interview there.
Yeah.
Because they're going to ask you all these questions.
Yeah, and you'll know what they're doing. I actually went on ZipRecruiter because someone had asked me, well, they said, well, is pfSense really used in the commercial world? Is it really ready for prime time? I'm like, well, here's the thing. Companies, once again, there's not like a list over on Visa and MasterCard's website about what infrastructure they're using. But what there is a list is ZipRecruiter. You go to ZipRecruiter, you know what MasterCard's hiring for? pfSense engineers. I can't think of why they would want people with many years of experience in pfSense and advanced configurations and all that unless they're using it.
Oh, yeah.
So is it being used in the commercial market? That was my goal to answer. Same thing with things like FreeNAS. People are like, was FreeNAS really used in commercial companies? I can tell you that we have consulted with very large companies that, once again, I had to sign disclosure for the consulting. But yes, they are storing an immense amount of data. And what even the FreeNAS people have talked about in interviews is they said, well, there are several of the large news organizations that you would have probably heard of that are using it to store every bit of their archive. They have petabytes of video all stored on FreeNAS. That's how they're able to quickly access when they want to pull, a congressperson says something stupid, they also are able to pull the 1992 clip of the congressperson saying something the opposite of whatever they're saying today. They have to have access to that information. They have to have it live. They have it all indexed. It all runs, and the back end of this is actually driven by FreeNAS.
Yeah, and actually, now that you mention it, I never really thought about this. There's no software that's too small for any organization from what I've seen. And especially working for an MSP. I mean, we've got large customers and, where we're bringing in tons of money every month, but we still have, and we don't have a lot of smaller customers, but at least I do remember where we came from, where we used to have smaller customers, and they're literally using whatever's off the shelf, whatever they can figure out. And a lot of times it comes down to cost. Yeah, there are all these open source products out there that cost nothing. Yeah. And there's always a business case for that, especially for smaller customers. Now, when you get bigger, you have different issues, and maybe you need to start paying for some enterprise software. But
yeah. And on that note, companies like pfSense and FreeNAS both have an enterprise version of their product. They offer support contracts. They offer incident support. And, this is a model not new. Red Hat perfected this model.
Oh, they give it away. Definitely did.
Yeah, I mean, come on. 32 billion IBM bought them for?
Yeah.
It was north of 30 billion. It was a lot of zeros in there. And think about that. Buying a company that gives away software. Present that business model to any venture capitalist 15, 20 years ago, they go, nah.
Yeah.
Like, why would I invest in a company that gives it away?
Yeah.
Come, 2019, it's commonplace. The value is in the support and services, which I actually like this. I think it puts a value on the people as opposed to product. I think that's a shift we're seeing in the industry. At least it's my perspective on it. I'm an optimist, though.
Yeah, you're not being forced into that support a lot of times.
No.
But yeah, when you get into larger companies, larger operations, you actually need to pay for that support because you need and we kind of joke in the industry, it's always a blame game.
Oh yeah.
If this Red Hat server is broken, oh well, blame Red Hat, and then the customer can't come after you. You say, oh well, we're working with Red Hat to resolve this, and it comes down to if Red Hat can't fix it. I mean, I don't know what happens at that point, but yeah, it's very true. And especially in 2019, open source is the new jam, for making money, which is really weird to think about.
Yeah, and
So
it's doing really well. I mean,
yeah.
we do a lot of open source consulting, and we were talking about, and I tweeted about I think it was FortiGate, and they took, because a lot of these companies, FortiGate, I think even Palo Alto is FreeBSD in the back end. So all these high-end commercially available firewalls are, but they monkey with the open source. They add their own little flavors on top of it. So they're not out of GPL compliance. They're following everything. They're releasing anything that they do, but then they have the closed source they stick on top of it. And it sounds like in the case of the FortiGate SSL VPN system, it's not the open source part there's a flaw in. It was the sauce they added on top. And that's where one of the reasons I push like a fully open source stack, because everyone gets to see it. It gets well vetted, so to speak, when it's a popular product, I should say. Not because it's open source is it secure. Please never take that. I've had people argue that. And I'm like, no.
Nothing's completely secure.
Yeah, and it's not secure until it's gone through code review, code audit. And Tavis Ormandy from Project Zero, if he's pointed his brain at one of those things, he's found a flaw in it, and then I feel better about it. Like, it's not until some flaws are found that I feel as though it's well vetted. But it's nice, and these companies have to place trust on these products because they secure their infrastructure. So why would you want someone where you're going to trust some small team at some firewall company? And Cisco needs to remove security from their name, man. They have had some big missteps. That Cisco ASA system with the where they just changed the user agent as a mitigation. Did you see that one?
Oh my gosh, no, I haven't.
So
really?
Yes, yeah. I can't even believe Cisco pulled this off. This is like the most
Wow.
absurd. You can't believe Cisco pulled this off story. So they found out that using a curl command, they have some of these Cisco ASAs. There's a big range of them, and there's a small business one. So there are actually a lot of clients use these. Are really popular for deployments. But they found a way to get it from the WAN side to puke its credentials. Matter of fact, it would dump its whole config file, which included the VPN certificates and hashed usernames or hashed passwords, but with the username. So there's a little reverse hashing and people using weak passwords. Yeah, you're in. So Cisco had 90 days, and I forget which company, I think it's called Red Balloon Security, did the write-up on it. And it's so funny how this all came about. And, security people are smartasses. So they said, hey, we have a fix. We'd like you guys to test it. So they updated the firmware. They tested, and they go, it worked, kind of. They did a curl and the command and injected the command, and it failed. Then they changed the user agent to curl, and they changed the user agent to be totally not curl, which I thought was funny. And that's all it took was changing the user agent name to instead of curl to being totally not curl, and it dumped the config again. And they started going through the binary changes, and they're like,
gosh.
"Really? Did you guys just block curl?" And Cisco's like, "Yeah." And you're like, "No, this isn't fixed. Go back to the drawing board. You can't just say I'll block curl." They're like, did you know you can change the user agent with the -u command? Like, this is a very arbitrary change, and this is coming from Cisco, and it was a big misstep. I think that these Cisco ASAs, because they're older models, they are treated not as well as some of the higher end Cisco stuff. And I will not that I'm trying to defend Cisco's position on this, because that's not defendable. But Cisco is a conglomeration. Cisco you see as one company, but they didn't get there all on their own. They bought up everybody. So I have a feeling whoever made that product and bought it, that same team is in place supporting it. And that's how they did things. They're like, and there's probably some higher level, because the Cisco Talos group is awesome. Like, their security research is solid. They're probably looking at that team going, who's the clowns over in, Suite 2 over here? Like, what are they thinking over there?
And that's always that's always one of the problems that you have when you buy another company, or you integrate with another company, or another company buys you. There are always these nuances, these hidden things that you didn't know about until it happens. So if that company isn't fully managed from one. What am I trying to say? If it's not fully managed by the parent company from start to finish, then you're more likely to have things like that happen, I would say.
Yeah.
Especially when you're trying to integrate it with other things. That integration, integrating one thing with another thing, I can tell you, security flaws abound depending on how you do it. So,
I seen Xavier comment said best social engineering are interviews with the hiring manager. Yeah.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
Just get your foot in the door for an interview. You're going to learn so much about
Yeah,
that company.
and actually, that next time you go in for an interview, if you work in IT or whatnot, pay attention to what they say, because I've been in interviews where I was like, wow, I'm actually really impressed because they didn't tell me anything,
Yeah.
you know? So,
And there's probably a whole different set of pen testing that companies could hire for red teams. I mean, there's always red teaming against companies, but red teaming as an employee would
Yeah,
be
oh,
an
yeah.
interesting side.
yeah, oh yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah,
and
you follow Darknet Diaries?
I've seen a little bit.
Yeah.
Not so much recently, but yeah,
They had one. They have a lot of stories from red teamers and what they had to do to go through stuff. And I mean, it's in depth. It's interviews with them. Tinkersec did an interview, and he's a really
Oh, yeah.
good red team. His interview was so fun. They put him in as a marketing person, and everything he had to go through, sit through boring videos and everything else, while he at the same time he's supposed to be creating content, and he's not because he's actually hacking everything as soon as everyone's back's turned. But it was cool because they embedded him in. So instead of just an external red teamer, they embedded him as someone in marketing.
that's the way to do it.
That's the way to do it. So he's a new employee because that's a real attack vector, not just
Yeah.
coming in from the outside. And I thought that was really clever. You know, he's this guy who's supposed to be a marketing person. You're not suspecting the marketing guy has any tech skills or hacking skills.
I did. Yeah. So that was a talk, right? I believe.
I think it may have been a talk as well that Tinkersec did,
That
but
sounds familiar.
he interviewed and broke down the entirety of from day one till day caught and busted of everything he found in the company, what they did right, what they did wrong, and including my favorite is how he got around the 2FA system, which was great. Of just calling someone at home, making a friend, call him at home. Hey, I'm from IT and a big enough company that you don't know all the IT people.
I did hear this.
I love that. Because they like, there's no way you're getting around our two-factor. We're really solid on this.
Yeah.
And he just calls her at home. He's like, hey, I'm in IT. I'm doing some work on your computer. You're about to get a code sent to your phone. I just need that real quick.
This? Yeah.
Yeah. And he goes, and they're like, okay. And I think the CISO was like behind him watching going, they answered the phone and they gave it up. Like they want to scream on the phone, "Don't do it! Don't fail, Karen!"
Right. Yeah, and working from a red team perspective, you want to be as disassociated from the company as possible, which is kind of a good thing why I'm in a completely different state.
Yeah.
Because and
Nobody knows you.
Yeah, no one knows me.
Yeah.
I've been gone for like 3 years, so I could literally walk into the help desk and start screwing with people.
And nobody knows who you are.
No one would know. So, but with that said, there are enough people who I know in the company still where it just wouldn't work. But it's nice because I can call the help desk and they won't know my voice. Honestly, like I don't think I know a single person who would pick up the phone on the help desk who actually knows me. So, and we do tests like that too. And not only do we test calling in the help desk and trying to get into systems, but we're testing processes. And I think that's the most important thing is you don't want to tell people, you don't want to say, okay, so we're going to do this pen test just so everyone knows that this is just a test. Because when you start doing that, then people start acting differently. So, when I did the phishing presentation, literally the only people that knew were the CEO and my boss. I don't even think people on that I worked with even knew. None of my peers on the security team even knew. So it was like a full blown test.
And that's huge.
Yeah, and you guys can look me up.
I'll post this Twitter.
In my talk, I think my talk is on YouTube. Well, because I presented at three or four different places, and my talks. If you look up my full name, it's Christopher Marshall. It's Kristoffer. And just look up Christopher Marshall Phishing on YouTube, And to be honest, I'm horrible at presentations, especially back then. So there's a lot of and ums in it.
Yeah,
But
I'll throw some links in the notes later. But we follow each other on Twitter. We go back and forth. But it's Southern Oregon, like we were saying before, crunk computing. So.
Yeah, and it's and honestly, if you're gonna test your company, that's how you want to do it, because
It's got to be a surprise.
we got our the escalation coordinator at our in our company got involved and sent out an email to the whole company saying, by the way, this phishing email, don't click on this. We're trying to remediate it. And we had people go in and pull the email out of people's email, out of their inboxes, and so the bad part of it is I didn't inform my hosting provider or my DNS provider, so they actually shut me down. And ironically, this is the funny part, they shut me down because there was an employee at our company who reported the phishing email. So what happened was he actually clicked on it because he was curious to see what would happen. So he contacted my hosting provider and my DNS provider, and they both shut me off within like an hour or so.
Wow. Well, that's actually good.
Okay, after a few hours. It was a few hours, but so unfortunately I didn't really get anyone from our India team because the website was just down for the rest of the night. So, but so if you're doing something like that, let everyone know who's actually hosting your stuff. By the way, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah, in case anyone reports, that's me.
Yeah. So
I'm hacking my own company,
and they may or may not actually comply and believe you, depending on the hosting companies. But yeah, just you need to be transparent with anyone behind the scenes, but everyone else, just don't let them know. So, but because they will, we have. I've seen some clients where they would just go tell people, and then the help desk would know, like, oh, we're gonna get a phone call today, or we're gonna get a phishing email today. So be really vigilant.
Yeah.
It's not always a bad thing, because after you start like phishing employees, they're gonna start reporting phishing emails. Like, it happens. This is a legitimate thing, because they don't know if they're going to be the one to click on the link or whatnot.
And there's some fun things you can do. So my wife briefly worked, a year. I guess that's brief in the scope of things. She worked for Quicken Loans. And they have a good solid program in there of employee training. And one of the other things they do is they make a game of it. If you click on a phishing email, my wife did. I won't lie. She's not tech savvy, and she doesn't watch this anyways. But you get the Go Fish trophy put on your desk for doing one of the internal phishing ones. It's a reminder to people that you need help, but they're encouraging about it. They're not degrading about it. And it was she got caught in her first week, and it was actually kind of funny. She was trying to get the scanner to work, and they were having problems with the scanner, so she kept scanning it, but it wasn't showing an email. And the tech people said, well, I don't know, it's not working for anybody. So they were trying to sort it out. Then, at the same time, while they're trying to sort it out, the email came through that says scan attached, and that's what she opened. She thought that's what it was the actual scan, and it was not the scan attached. It was the phishing email. Oh. So it was just, and they actually were very honest, they were telling her, as soon as the scan comes through, just go ahead and open it so you can process this loan.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what she thought it was. It just by coincidence, because it's a randomizer. They didn't target her. They said a random thing comes out and sends employees these phishing things, and we see if they can click on them. And she did. She clicked on the fake one, and so she got busted.
we actually did something similar. We had the singing fish that goes on your wall. So we took a random person who clicked on the email, and they got the singing fish. But then we had another list of people who actually reported the phishing email. We put them in a list and randomly selected someone who we gave them a gift certificate and a tinfoil hat.
Oh, nice.
So it was a lot of fun. So, and we do stuff like that every once in a while still.
And the phishing emails are really serious. People contact me about security. I do a lot of consulting on it, like when I'm building out the networks, and we just helped this research company unflatten their network because they had they gotten really big, and what they did was they just kept adding our slash. They were down to us like a /22 now with all these devices on one giant network. And
wow.
The guy watched my videos. He goes, I really think this is a problem after watching some videos. Yeah. He goes, we don't have a problem. He goes, I feel though all these departments that are completely don't even need to talk to each other should probably be on their own separate LANs. That's a great idea. So we took the network and broke it up into 7 networks and things like that. So and all that consulting, but people get so over concerned. I think that's an important aspect of security, but the person was overlooking completely like the phishing aspect and stuff like that. That's still the majority of the way these attacks occur. The only thing that does help when you segment the network is it does prevent some of the lateral movement across, so it makes it harder to jump to other segments of the company. But the other side of it is that like your first defense is training your users. They can be an asset to you, and I've preached that. A well-trained user is an asset because they'll report cybersecurity. They'll report the guy phishing them and shut down his accounts and his DNS. You start with a user training. Getting that flat network fix is important, but if you had to prioritize thing, user training first, then flat network problem, figure out where your budget is, and they all need to happen, but prioritize those ones that are lower hanging fruit. I encourage that with a lot of people.
Yeah, it's layers. It's security in layers, and I tell people, yes, you need the technical safeguards. You do need them, but once if you have a user who has complete access to a system, they're your weakest link at that point. They really are, and training needs to be huge right now.
And principles of least privilege, please.
Yes.
Just don't especially the owners. They're the worst. Never give them full admin access. We do have a company, and the owners are tech savvy enough, but what we've done is they have 2 sets of usernames. Their general everyday username that they log in with is one thing. They have another longer username to let us know it's got the word administrator somewhat in their name. But we do that. We'll create a second set of credentials for some of them. And that is a big step. That way, if they need to do something administrative, they log in completely separately, not their daily login to the computer. That way, if you try to privilege escalate, they only have access to general stuff. Too many times people check the box, hey, he's got a C in the beginning of his name, CISO, sees this, whatever. Give him admin access. So you're just asking for disaster. They're not always the people that need the admin level access.
It's a good point. And actually putting admin in the username really helps if you have a SIM solution. If you have a central logging solution, that those are the accounts you really want to watch and it makes it easier. And maybe some companies, maybe it might not be admin, maybe it might be something else. I've seen some companies with completely gibberish for the usernames, but so you want to make sure that you can figure out where the admin accounts are. So when you're looking at the logs, those are the particular ones that you need to put a higher priority on at scrutinizing, I should say. So
it makes it. As well, the other things about when you start separating networks, it's one of the reasons if you have a range of networks, I put the guest network on a separate one. People are like, why? I'm like, because if you have any type of monitoring SIM tool, you're running Suricata, something watching, I said, it's really easy to say, oh, the guests use a 172 network, but everything the business uses starts with a 192. You can quickly start discerning the traffic and go, that's garbage coming from the other stuff that happens to run on the same firewall at the very end, but it's all a separate network, just to make it easier. Let's talk about a couple of fun things. You have a toy over here.
Oh, yeah. So this is an ESP 8266. I can't remember. I bought it off of AliExpress for like $7-8, and then the battery was another $3. So basically, it's a microprocessor. It has like it's called a little joystick, so you can go up, down, left, right. Actually, if you go like left or something, one of them resets it.
Okay.
Let me turn it on.
I should probably hardline my computer,
No, you're good.
Oh, okay.
So
press the magic button.
No, there's this Arduino program called Wi-Fi deauthor. Man, it took me days just to get it to actually run on this thing. So it's not fully functional.
Okay.
It doesn't actually deauth. At least I haven't gotten it to work successfully. But so what I can do is, it has other things too, like it's got a packet monitor, and you can see each channel and how many packets are going. Oh, I see, I reset it. If you go to the right, it'll reset it.
Okay.
But you could see, like if you're out in the field,
Actually, what I'm going to do is I can hold this up to the camera here.
Okay.
And they can, it should focus.
Focus. So the whole setup was...
You're actually looking at the packets.
Yeah, the amount of packets on that channel.
Wow.
So, the whole setup was maybe $12 or so. And I'm sure there are companies that actually sell these, preloaded with these programs and whatnot. But this basically has it's Wi-Fi enabled. I can't remember what protocols, but it's Wi-Fi, and no,
is
this
gonna
one
make it
doesn't
go
have
crazy.
Bluetooth.
This one's programmed, so in a second this will boot up and you'll have even more signal in here.
Okay, nice. Yeah, we'll take a look at that. Yeah, we're at. Do you know what channel it's on?
Not yet, but I'll find
Okay.
out.
Yeah, now I'm looking at channel 2, about the same amount of packets.
So Xavier put a couple. Yeah, has this booted yet? I don't see the lights out on it.
Well, that's just one function, and to be honest, that's not the fun function.
What is the fun function that you got? That you're working on that?
So you can do a couple things. So as you could see, and I'll show everyone on the camera here.
I can hold it up for you. So.
Yeah, so these are the main options for scanning. So you can scan for access points, and I think ST means station. So you can go to an area, scan for all the access points, and you can actually
That's cool.
clone them. So what you can do is say, I don't know what the SSDs are in this area. Say you've got an SSD of like Lawrence Tech. What it can do is it'll say, okay, I see this SSID. I'm gonna make 50 of them. So if someone came on site, and I mean, this would be really bad if you did this at the start of a conference. So say someone came in a conference and, oh, well, here's the SSID to get on the internet for free. And, well, which one do I connect to? There are 50 of them, or like there are 100 of them. So you could actually block people out of internet access that way. But with that said, that's not even the main function of this. The main function is to actually find devices in the area and de-auth them. So essentially keep on kicking them off the internet, offline,
Yeah, it sees my LTS one.
Yeah.
So I highlighted it.
Okay. And then what we can do, so I usually do random mode.
Okay.
So what if you want to see that real quick?
Yeah. Because
you
know the button's better.
Yeah, that one would be.
We're gonna hack the Wi-Fi in real time here.
That one would be completely non-malicious. So as you can see with the SSIDs on here, this is in random mode. So with random mode, it creates a bunch of SSIDs that are completely gibberish.
What I'm gonna actually do is I can share a screen on my computer.
Okay,
I'm gonna,
nice.
Yeah, and then I'll actually show the SSIDs it's generating. These are some of the fun things with Wi-Fi that are. It's great. I mean. Look how tiny this device is. This could be in someone's pocket standing in a lobby and start causing chaos at your company.
Yeah, and these can do a lot of other cool things. So this ESP8266, which a lot of people are switching to the ESP32s now, which are more powerful. But you can actually create mesh networks with these. I talked to one guy when I was in Chicago. He said, yeah, we've been doing this for years. You would take these very cheap devices. I mean, the chips themselves, so you can get like bare bones little circuits for like $2-3, and then you just need to hook up a battery. But there are people who have written code where you can actually create a line of these that'll all connect to each other, and you can extend your Wi-Fi range by miles.
Wow.
So, and now just doing this alone, you're going half duplex, but if range is what you need for a small amount of bandwidth or small amount of throughput, they work perfectly fine from what I hear. So do you want me to start this?
Yeah, go ahead, start it.
Okay.
What we're going to do is we're going to switch to this. I'm using the Wi-Fi scanner. I'm connected
You're
hardline.
live.
So let's see what it starts noticing.
Yeah, this little green LED turns on. So right now it's saying that it's created 60 access points.
Okay.
So, and
Well, let's
actually I don't see any yet. That's weird.
We'll give it a second.
I'll check my phone too.
Yeah, my phone's in the other room. I would check it. So this is pretty
Okay.
cool. So we're seeing this.
Of course, we're trying to
Do this all live.
do this all live, so it's not working. Let me
When
try.
in doubt, reset it.
Yeah, let me try redoing this actually. Select SSIDs, random mode, back. Okay, I don't know if it was in random mode before. Attack. Probe.
Yeah, we'll see as soon as this updates on this. And this is another aspect that I'm seeing more. So we've been helping. Yeah, oh yeah, people are noticing the Notice Me Senpai one. That is one of our networks, maybe or not.
Maybe.
Allegedly.
You just gave it away.
Yeah, LTS is definitely one of ours.
I
definitely gave it away because anyone who's watching this live stream right now goes, Tom, it's the same MAC address. Shut up. I'm like, okay, my secret's out. That everybody knew who's ever been to my office. We actually, they all have the same Mac, yeah. And Xavier noticed it. Xavier's been here, though. He's cheating.
Oh, that's interesting.
So we'll see what they show up on here.
Yeah, this came up with 7 access points, 1 station, but I'm still going to select...
I might be creating part of the problem here. I have this sitting in next to it.
Yeah, I wonder, remove all, select all. I'll just kind of try to do everything.
Xavier and his allegedlys.
Clone APs, random mode, clone APs, back.
I don't know who, this is a new one I noticed popping up when I'm in scanning and doing some Wi-Fi testing. It says Jessica Home. So, hi Jessica, if you're watching. I don't think so, but like obviously someone really close has one called Jessica Home.
Oh, there we are.
There we are.
Okay.
Now you made a mess.
I put in, it was in probe mode instead of beacon mode. That's what the problem was. I don't know what probe mode does to be honest. And this will actually create an access point you can log into and configure it even further.
Wow.
I think I disabled the transmitting of the SSID, and I don't remember the password now. But once I get this back home, I'm going to reprogram it, and then it's a nice interface. Like this is a web server as well.
Oh, that's impressive.
And on top of that, if you plug this in via USB, you can log into it like via PuTTY or something similar, or even the Arduino IDE, and you can pass it commands. So yeah.
Yeah, he posted, so let me pull it up real quick here. Actually, I'll switch to this in case I have something on the screen I shouldn't. Let's look that up real quick. I was sure people didn't get this device. This is novel. It was just one of those random things. He pulled this out just before the live stream. I didn't know he was going to do it, but I'm like, hey, why not? Is this looks like
that's it's the same chip in a different form factor.
Okay.
The one on the right is a really cheap one. You can pick those up for $1.50, $2, I think.
Wow.
The one on the left has a lot more inputs and outputs, so add $1 to it, I guess.
It's $1 more for the more outputs for those wondering. So let's jump.
So and these come in different form factors. Like this one obviously has a little display on it. I feel like I'm missing something. You can actually, and this came with a pin header that I had to solder on. But you can charge the battery. This is a
2160 or 17
18650.
18650.
Yep. So a lot of these use 18650s. They look like huge AA batteries. I love these things.
Oh.
They're lithium ion batteries.
Yes. And if you don't know why those are so cheap, that's what powers Tesla.
Yeah. At least currently. Well, and they're going to the new battery.
They did. Because I have a Model 3, and the Model 3 has the 28 or 27 something.
Okay.
So the I gotta look it up now. I want to be accurate.
I'll turn this off so I'm not.
Well, I hardlined in. I seen him open it up. Here, there you go, Tesla. Now we can all answer this question together. But I think they moved to where's the battery at?
Yeah, and that was a big thing where they're trying to change the industry to a certain extent, because they're going to be the only manufacturer of this battery for a little while at least, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. 2017 Model 3 2170, and it's actually the 2170 versus 1860 is a reference to the size of the cylinder that they're in. So the 21s are just a little bit taller, and but one of the cool things is because Panasonic actually makes the batteries for Tesla, they're in a partnership agreement for those. They make that. Then Tesla puts them in. And Tesla's actual part is making the pack. So they get the big groups of them, and they build the pack that builds into it. But what that means, when you mass produce anything, prices go down. So I've got flashlights. I got all kinds of
Oh, yeah.
gadgets myself that
Oh,
are
yeah.
powered by that same battery, and they're amazing. There's a guy who has a YouTube channel almost dedicated to buying and selling those bulk batteries, where to get them, how to build projects. He shows you how to build your own Tesla Powerwall. If you type in a homemade Tesla Powerwall, his YouTube is a black hole that I've spent 10 hours watching, because the guy just has a really cool, like, this is how he 3D prints the little holders, and he built all of his own Powerwall systems. And I want to build one now. I want to do, instead of a UPS, I'm going to build a Powerwall to power a rack in the back.
That would be really cool. And yeah, and they're, like you said, they're in a lot of different things.
Yeah.
A lot of I'm hand drills. Power
The
equipment.
power equipment.
Yeah.
Even a lot of laptop batteries are built by packing those together as well. If you look at the laptop batteries, the one on the bottom here, if you notice the rounded edges, 18650s in these.
Yeah.
If you cut them open, that's they just stack them together. So like they have become kind of mainstream for that. But of course, they power for a long time a Wi-Fi device here too.
and this one is actually interesting. This is an 18650B.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's because, so this actually has circuitry in it. It has
Oh, okay.
overload and underload circuitry.
So it'll shut itself off.
Yeah, so this one
Yes.
is made specifically for flashlights that have no circuitry. So you just pop this in a flashlight, and I mean, they're, I don't know, I don't want to say like dumb devices, but they don't have any voltage regulation in them at all. So once you're down on the voltage, instead of this like destroying itself, it'll actually stop outputting.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember if it's ASAP Science. One of the channels has a really good breakdown of what happens. And basically what happens in these batteries is they have a very narrow voltage range that they operate in. Too much voltage destroys the battery. Too little, if you drain the battery down below a certain part, it actually collapses the lattice cell work, or however the exact structure is inside this, but it actually breaks down, and the chemicals will no longer accept the charge once you go below a certain voltage. So that's cool that it actually has a circuitry in there, because if you were to just run them down, that's it. They don't get to ever be recharged again. That's it. And even in the Teslas, they refer to them as bricked Teslas. That is a Tesla that has been, like, if it gets in a small accident and it goes to like one of those auction houses, because sometimes they sit for too long, if the battery was low, the batteries will trickle down over time. If they hit below a certain threshold, they can never be charged again, and they have destroyed the battery pack on that Tesla. That's it.
Yeah.
You're done.
And
It's
that's
over.
why a lot of times when you buy new electronics with lithium batteries in them, they are charged to halfway, because if these devices sit in a warehouse for, I mean, it's the same problem. If they sit in a warehouse for a while, then they're not useful anymore. So that's why a lot of outlets or a lot of retail outlets will try to sell they need to move this stock, because if they don't, and if people don't start using them, then they're going to be useless. So
It says, can that device do packet capture as well?
this one, no, not as far as I know. I think it's just to kind of annoy people.
Yeah.
As far as I know.
It probably doesn't have much of a storage to do it. And
Right.
one of the problems with packet capture as well is it takes a lot, especially when you talk about a full packet capture. And I've been wanting to do a video. I don't know, people have been asking me, but like Security Onion, I've worked with that. When you do full PCAP, even the Security Onion, like their own recommendations when you build a server, they look at the size of your internet, how much you're going to use, and like you're going to use so much bandwidth. Like, oh yeah, buy real solid hardware. Don't virtualize this thing. It's going to take like a RAID array of solid state drives to handle the packet capture at this company. We worked to spec this out at our automotive supplier. They wanted to put some Security Onion in and put all that in there. But the data they do, I mean, they got a symmetrical gig fiber. They're like, oh, here's the array you will need. And they have their bandwidth knowledge of how much bandwidth they use to do full PCAP. We can do it. This is what you need.
Yeah, and I know we did similar things in the past where we were, man, it just takes that one customer where, now we're bringing in this much data through our pipe, and we're running out of space.
Yeah.
So it just takes, just tips it over just a little too much. And and we're obligated to keep a certain amount of data for a certain, well, not a certain amount of data, but you need to keep that data for a certain amount of time, and that can be difficult. So
Yeah, that's important too, is trying to figure out the retention and all that. I was thinking about that today. some people are like, oh, you got to do this and do this. And I see some people jump in like you need to do that. But there's a happy middle has to be retained because of just the volume of data requires somewhere to put it. And I was mentioning a client that has sticker shock when we told them what it takes to retain 60 cameras of 4K footage for 6 months. They're like, it can't take that much. I'm like, it does. What do you?
Oh, yeah.
If you want to accumulate that much data and you have a long retention period, you're going to have to slow down the frame rate. I was making faces at my son who's sneaking around. You just want to leave, don't you? You ready to get a pizza and go home?
No.
No? All right. He stayed home from school, so he's forced to hang out with Dad all day.
Yeah.
But go poke at Steve for a little while longer.
No, I'll poke at Eric.
All right. Are we going to teach you how to do hacking and social engineering soon?
Okay, I have 2 things to say.
What?
1, don't smoke bees.
Oh,
okay?
that's...
2.
You don't remember the second thing?
Yeah, I don't remember.
You don't remember? All right.
I've got another device if you're
Oh, sure.
interested.
Why not?
So let me go.
Yeah, before the stream's over, go grab that.
Yeah.
And I'll actually mention something that's in the title that didn't get finished prior to starting this live stream. But the offer code is valid. It just, I don't think it works yet. Let me find out. So if it does work, I'll be excited. It still doesn't work. But I can at least tell you about it. I am working on a sponsorship with the folks over at IT Pro TV for training, and I know a lot of you have asked, like, hey, Tom, what about this and that? I made a lot of videos. I have almost 900 videos. I just can't do it all, and my own staff, we've been using IT Pro TV for them to learn, get better at things like Active Directory and different training modules. But I'm working on a sponsorship with them. The offer code is just going to be LTS for Lawrence Technology Services. So they said the offer code will work if you do want to sign up for them. But I'm going to do a whole video about this. It's going to be part of my channel sponsor. It'll be added to my affiliate pages. But I just want to bring that up because people have been asking, and we looked at a few of them. I like the way they have their edutainers, as they call them. They're good. They put together solid content. I audited some of them myself and said, okay, this is accurate, because they did ones on PF Sense. They did ones on products I've done stuff on that I know very well. So I want to bring this up, though, because you're always looking for further training in IT. And even myself, watching some of these videos, they got a cool thing laid out. But yeah, that's all stuff that's coming more to the channel for sponsorship. That's why I have sponsor listed in the show title, and I just want to bring that up. I just talked to them this morning.
Wow.
And yeah, they're going to help sponsor the channel. I'm like,
that's cool.
There's definitely an alignment. Like,
yeah.
And by the way, I got them to give you guys 30% off. So that's yeah. So whenever you sign up, you get 30% off for the life of your subscription on there. And they do all the training. They do the certs. Like, you can do certs through them and everything. So you can do the training, and they have like prep cert training as well. They have all kinds of cool stuff.
Huh.
And I've been happy with it. There's this, everyone I've talked to there through the whole process is really nice. And I had to, they don't really have much of a sponsorship program. They're not working with any but only one other YouTuber right now. And I wanted
That's
it.
pretty cool.
I didn't want to sell mattresses, and like every time I listen to, and I see that because like every time I listen to them, everyone uses the same couple sponsors all the time, and I kind of get burned out. I'm like, I don't want to just be generic and just because they have a sponsorship opportunity to use them. I want to use someone who I actually think is like alignment with my audience, like a value to them. So yeah, IT Pro TV. Yeah, Leo Laporte at the Twit Network, he has promoted them. He is one of the people that worked out a sponsorship with them well, and he had the same challenge with them. Like, they are really good at content. They're not bad at marketing, but they don't have programs for this yet. So this is a new thing for them. Creating the landing pages for me was like kind of a big deal for them. Like,
oh wow!
It's not they didn't build their business like all these other people who have this marketing machine in there, but that actually makes me think that they're that much more genuine as a company.
Yeah,
because they didn't think all about marketing. They really focused on creating good content. That's huge to me. I'm giving you something that you get a discount on and provides value. So what is the next toy you have?
So I've got a couple of them. So I bought them from the same vendor, and they're obviously in different packages.
Oh.
So, but I'll open up one, and I actually bought like 5 of these on AliExpress. These were, I want to say, just over $4 per. And so if you're familiar with the rubber ducky,
Yeah.
which can become quite expensive, and I've played with them. I love rubber duckies. But for like 1/10 the price,
Wow.
you can get these. So, yeah. So the funny thing about these is
It's not going on my computer right now.
yeah, I don't know what's on them right now.
Okay.
They might just have the standard Blinky program or something.
Okay.
But I actually tried I actually went to my friend's house and I bought one of these in. I said, hey, I said, Brian, I found this in your driveway. He's like, oh, yeah, that's mine. Just put it in his pocket. I'm like, all right, that didn't work. and sure enough, he has a thumb drive that looks exactly like this.
Oh, okay.
It's the same exact case.
Well, if you're going to do the drop thing and people are so compelled, this works so well to do that. It's like the dumbest but most effective hack. Just drop these around. The downside is you have to have the money to throw these around, but that's what great thing that's achieved.
Yeah, actually, and the thing that kind of annoyed me a little bit is you've probably watched Mr. Robot.
Oh yeah.
Where she dropped like, I don't know, 10, 20 of the rubber duckies. I'm like, do you know how much money that is?
Yeah.
And she dropped them all in one spot, which is a different issue. But yeah, these are only about $4 each.
What are they called?
If you go to AliExpress, look up bad USB.
Okay.
All one word. Or you could actually look up rubber ducky, and these will come up as well. But yeah, there are other similar devices, and they'll vary. And I know we were talking about the whole what is it, the tariffs thing that's going on with China.
They're going to start increasing the price. Oh, here they are. So let's switch over to this.
So even less than $4.
$372.
Yeah.
Look at that.
So I guess the caveat to these, which actually isn't a caveat to me, these don't have SD cards. So you actually have to plug this into your computer. You have to download the Arduino IDE. And I can't remember which chipset you need to set this to. I think you can just set it to the standard, if you're familiar with Arduino. You could set it to like a standard Arduino chip or something, and it can program it. But basically, you plug this in, you fire up the IDE, and there are some very basic commands to emulate a keyboard. And you just pretty much, in the program itself, you say, okay, I want you to type this in, this and this in, delay for like a second or two. And the delays are very important with these.
Because you have to wait, because when Linux will enumerate right away, but Windows always has that long pause before it finishes enumerating and adding as a device.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it depends. Like with slower laptops, with slower computers, you want to put in longer delays, because if you don't, then it'll start typing in a command, and the window might not pop up, and it started typing in another command before it pops up. It's like, well, that didn't work. But you also want to program these now. Okay, so a little background for people who aren't familiar. I guess I need to backtrack. You plug this in, and it acts like a keyboard. So you can you can basically program this to say, okay, when this is plugged in, type in Windows key R, and then like type in a URL. And that's mostly what I do is I have this type in a URL for my website. And then my website will capture, you can say type in a URL, and then in the little run command, you can actually put in a username string. You can put in a few other things too. It'll hit that URL with the username and a few other things encoded in the URL. The web server can capture that data. And what I have my web server do is I can actually redirect the user to a different website instantly. Like they don't even know that they've gone to my website. And mostly what I do is I rickroll them. So
that's like just rickroll them.
Yeah. So basically it'll go to my website for a split second. I'll collect some information. I got their IP address, their username. I think you can get domain name and a few other somewhat interesting things. It'll spit them off to YouTube to rickroll them. And then I wait like 5-10 seconds, and then it presses F to full screen the rickroll. But yeah, like so the rubber ducky, the difference is the rubber ducky obviously looks different, and that's based off of an actual USB case as well. So they look like USB thumb drives.
And the Hack 5 stuff is really solid.
That's it really is.
Website.
And they have a whole infrastructure. You can program them multiple different ways, and nothing against them.
No, and there's Xavier with Darren Kitchen, they're friends.
Oh, nice.
So,
yeah.
That's what we think of it, because Xavier is a regular DEF CON person. You can always find Darren Kitchen.
He's always at DEF CON.
He's always at DEF CON. They make some incredible stuff. The guy has the Hack 5 channel is great.
Yeah.
Inspiration. Highly recommend it.
But if you don't have the money, I mean, what was it, $45?
Yeah, they're in. Well, actually, and
at
here's
the time of this recording, it's
Well, I don't even know, because
they're sold out. Last time I checked a week or two ago, I think they're up to $45, and it's like that's kind of steep if you're trying to break into it. I think.
Yeah, and
if
I'm
you're
not.
a corporation,
It's not
they're-
a dig at all at Darren
No,
and them.
no,
And they
definitely
give
not.
a much more complete when you get theirs.
Oh, yeah.
So here's the thing: what's your time worth? You have money
Yeah.
but no time.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Buy something like that. You have lots of time and only $3.
Yeah, oh yeah. So
You
yeah,
can go
there's
to
a learning
Wish.
curve. With this, they lay it all out. They have excellent documentation. You can even write a program in the browser, I believe.
Yeah.
And then download the program, put it on the SD card, and then
And their
then you're
Ducky
good.
script is solid. There's
Oh,
so many pre-configured payloads and everything like that. It's just different options on there.
Yeah.
And especially if you were thinking about doing a pen test at a company, you're like, I need to drop 50 of these scattered around my office. Well, actually, the company you work for has hundreds of employees.
Yeah.
So maybe you want
Oh,
to
yeah.
scatter them around at an even broader scale. Getting an approval for that budget can be tricky.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I need about $10,000 to throw rubber duckies at all the staff. Or do I need $1,000 to throw
Yeah, and
these?
and the other thing too is you're going to lose them. You're going to lose
Oh, yeah.
some. You know,
A lot.
Because yeah, some people are just going to pocket them, or maybe even throw them out, or they might get ran over if you drop them in a
parking lot.
But yeah, and the other thing that I like about it too is you can actually put a little bit of logic in it. Since you're actually making the program,
Yeah.
you can make it do random things if you want it to. Now, one caveat to these is they have no idea what kind of computer they're being plugged into. So if you're in an environment that's 50-50 Windows and Mac, you've got a 50-50 chance of whether or not it's going to work. And actually, in reality, your chances are less than that, because depending on how fast or how slow the computer is,
Yeah.
your timing could be off a little bit. But you have to program. So, and as far as I know, these do work on Macs.
Yeah.
It's a little harder because you have to figure out the Mac key bindings. If
Yeah.
you're not a Mac user, which can be kind of difficult, but then you have to bank on a Mac user is going to plug this in, and if they're on like a MacBook Pro, they're going to need a dongle first.
They're going to need a dongle first anyway, so they're less likely to plug it in.
Yeah,
than that
so-
right there. Bit of housekeeping, I will admit that we currently have 150 people on there, but only 59 likes. Make that algorithm tell people they should watch the video. So I just say that once in a while. I didn't say it for a long time, and I realized talking to other people that have much larger channels, they said it's stupid. Even they admit they don't want to say it. They're like, but YouTube cares so much if people hit the like button that it I don't know. We live in an algorithm-driven life. Like, our life is just an algorithm. We could even be living in a simulation, as many of us have speculated.
Could be.
I especially thought that this morning when I seen Richard Stallman was speaking at Microsoft. I'm just like,
I haven't seen that one.
yeah, he literally was at Microsoft, and here you got to
Oh,
see
wow.
this. I was like, this.
Have you heard of simulation? Well, okay, simulation theory and man, what is that one? E8 theory and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It's, man, if you want to look up some really in-depth stuff, that's another rabbit hole.
It
all
is.
that stuff.
Well, in GeoHot, the famous hacker,
Uh-huh.
he's done all kinds of amazing things. He has a talk he gave about, and if there's anyone who's going to crack the simulation, I mean, GeoHot is the original guy sued by Sony for cracking a PlayStation, broke the original iPhone, broke every iPhone subsequently. He was the first jailbreaker for him.
Oh, wow.
I mean, the guy has just, GeoHot is an amazing, brilliant hacker with a list of accolades. But if there's someone who's going to escape the simulation, I think it might be him. I mean, the guy's great at hacking. And so, like, yeah, this is a picture of Richard Stallman, and he's speaking at Microsoft, which got
At Microsoft.
at Microsoft about open
Wow.
source.
It is a weird.
It's a
very
weird world we
world.
live in.
Yeah, yeah.
I like that someone had titled. If you haven't seen Reddit fake history porn, it's another rabbit hole you can go down of hilarity.
great.
And it says Jesus. That someone titled this Jesus descending down into hell and preaching or something like that. And I was like, yeah, that sounds about right.
That's great. Actually, well, this I guess this is definitely interesting. But I actually go to Chicago. So I helped develop the Linux Plus exam.
Okay.
And we have a team of people who fly in and help out with it. And one of the guys is actually from Microsoft.
Oh.
So it's not too far fetched. I mean, Microsoft is going. They're going all in with Linux, and he's. He'll tell you he's a through and through Linux guy, and really nice guy. He really knows his stuff.
And one of the people I had to interview, I was privileged to interview because he's granted This guy has a boss. He is the architect of Azure. Maybe you heard of Azure. His boss, Satya Nadella, and I got to sit down and do an interview with John Gossman.
Oh, that's cool.
And he was awesome, interesting guy, and he's the person that holds the seat at the Linux Foundation on behalf of Microsoft, because they are a gold partner. But he's a open source guy. He's very interesting, very in a great track record. Will create a lot of products. But you have him, and then you have like Jeffrey Snover, who also, well, yeah. You're sneaking, sun's sneaking back in. Who's also a massive open source advocate. And before Nadella took over, one of the things Snover disclosed to us was like he was championing open source, but Steve Ballmer's like no, and scolded him. And his fond memories of he talks about in an interview we have with him is like, oh yeah, I was scolded quite a few times. I would never had a problem making Ballmer mad.
Yeah,
he was angry at me many times, and he was really welcoming when Nadella took over. Microsoft's not perfect, but they have changed dramatically.
And then, that was kind of what's the word? It was kind of a culture thing for anyone working. At least from what I've seen, even working in my own company, we have the Microsoft team, and I can tell you, back when I started 10 years ago, the Microsoft guys, quite a few of them did not like anything open source. They thought,
oh yeah,
and especially from a security standpoint, they said, well, the code is open to the world. How is that secure? I'd rather have something that's completely closed.
It's a paradigm shift to those people.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that they have
is.
Stallman there, I mean, it really shows there. And he actually, I retweeted this, but John Gossman said Exfat is now part of the Linux kernel. So they've actually added it to the Linux kernel. So now we have Exfat support right in the kernel, which is pretty amazing. And I will actually pull something up. Episode. So this is my podcast, AppSMLR episode 256 was the one where we interview. So fresh looks episode 256. Microsoft gets Git. And this is in 2017. And now what's really interesting, so we interview Matt Woodward and Edward Thompson. Edward Thompson actually worked for GitHub and came over there. These guys were key, and this whole story runs back, if you guys want to listen to this one, it runs back into how GitHub got into Microsoft and how they started changing their dev process and how they were doing open source in there.
Wow.
The important thing is this was occurring, I think it was in 2014, and that's way before Nadella. So as much as we can hate on and justifiably hate on Microsoft and Steve Ballmer, Mr. Developer, and I'm going to kill Google and open source is cancer. Yes, he said all those things.
Yeah, he did.
Also, these guys revealed he had to sign off, and he greenlit the project to bring open source into Microsoft before he left.
Wow. And
they said he's not the guy who will ever say he's wrong. He's like that tough CEO type, but he did sign off, and that's what that whole story is about. Of we brought in GitHub, and actually, the story starts out in two ways. These two guys were supposed to be talking about something else, and they had a media person in the room with us, and the media person says, "I have to go do something. Will you guys behave?" And they go, "Do you want to hear a story?" and of lawyers and Microsoft and how they dive into an hour talk of, we just said, wow. One of the fun things the Microsoft legal team had a problem with was, turns out there's too many swear words in the comments of open source. And because with open source licensing, you're supposed to provide the source code to the client, and they found out a problem. They go, legal goes, we're not sure to handle how many F-bombs are in this source code and give it to the client.
Oh, yeah.
We think this violates at least a handful of laws or rules or something.
Wow.
So they talk about there's a GitHub pull request to remove swear words.
And that's so funny.
They cite so much stuff, and these guys are open source true. Like when they came to Microsoft, they were big open source advocates. But there's a lot of change that happened on there, and I like their attitude. They're like, we knew Microsoft was against open source when we came in. We knew we were brought in because people seen the writing on the wall, and we figured our best option was to change the company with them. So yes, we went to work for the devil. We went to work it, but look at the results. They're still a business. They're still around. Microsoft is still a for-profit company, but they're much more friendly to open source. The lawsuits have not 100% stopped, but they have greatly slowed. It's not their angle anymore of suing everybody out of existence. So. And some people call me a Microsoft fanboy after we did interviews there because they flew us out to do it. And I'm like, we're not a fanboy. We're just being honest. We asked them hard questions, and it was fun.
Yeah, I still have my reservations personally, but I never thought I would see the day when Microsoft embraces open source. And sure, there are definitely some business reasons behind it as well. Personally, I think it's a little easier for them to take this thing that's already developed and integrate it. But at the same time, it's easy for them to take this thing that already works with a lot of other things. I mean, Microsoft seems to be in the business of making things work with other things now.
Yeah, they want to be where their customers are, and they
Right.
know the world is going open source. They have to embrace it, and they're doubling down on. To me, I see a double way they can mean the last version of Windows is Windows 10. There's two meanings I take that. One, they just keep calling it Windows 10 even though they keep updating it. The second one is they're not banking on it. They're going to let the long tail of legacy carry on, and as long as people want Windows, we'll keep pushing it out there, but it's not where new features come from. It's not where new innovation is. We just know people need to run this. Eventually, we know it's going to become a browser with a keyboard is kind of where we're seeing like more like a Chromebook world, and someone has to host that data somewhere. We got Azure, and they're doubling down all money, all bets on Azure, and you need to host all that code that you have for free somewhere. We're going to make money on that back end, and that's where Microsoft seems to be going with it. I mean, it is what it is.
And I wouldn't be surprised if you really don't see Windows 10 all that much in the future.
Right.
I don't know how long it might take, 10, 15, 20
But
years, but
there's an eventual end to it.
I don't think so they're not. Microsoft is not the Windows company anymore. You know, it's not and which personally I think is good because I don't think it's been going very well.
No.
I don't know.
Everything's another black eye on all the Windows stuff, and it's trying to maintain that level of legacy code. That's just, it's difficult. Even Mac had to bite the bullet and made a big change at some point in their history. So the old Mac OS is not the same as the new one. But speaking of that, I will say we've been going for over an hour, so we do have to eventually end. I have a son making faces at me over here. He's like, Dad. Oh. And I know we probably could just sit and talk forever, but we won't. Is there any final questions that you have for me or my special guest here? So one video alone was in a browser where you're talking about all the silicon graphics, Xerox, eBay. Yeah, it's all these tech titans have been fighting for a while. Windows 95 when it crashes. Fun trivia. The only time I ever went to Comdex, back when Comdex was a thing in the 90s, the only time I went, I happened to get there and go into the keynote 5 minutes before Bill Gates plugged in the USB into Windows 95 and it crashed, and we all cheered.
Oh my gosh!
Like I was so, and it's funny because that type of thing never happened for many years after that. But it was like cool to see Bill on stage and do that, and it crashed, and we all applauded the crash, and Bill handled it gracefully.
I've actually heard about that happening.
Yeah, I'm old enough that my hair's gray enough that I was there at that event. That's when I got my. God, that would have been 1990. It would have been 95 or 94. 95 probably would have happened.
Yeah, it could have been. Yeah. I don't know when it was released. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no, it would have been Windows. Was it Windows ME? Because Windows 95 had USB support limited, but I remember it was a scanner they plugged in. I don't know. I know there's video of it you can find on YouTube. Type in Bill Gates and USB crash, and you'll be entertained.
It was more likely ME. I mean, considering its
ME
history,
was terrible. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, worst release ever.
Yeah. It was not a good one. Web browsers work great, super fast on my P233 MMX. I remember those.
Huh.
I'm old enough to remember the old Pentium 233s. They were a weird clock speed. They went from 200, but you could tweak the clock on them. As everything in the earlier days was multiples of 25.
Okay, yeah.
So you would get a 25 megahertz processor, but you could set the bus speed to be 33 and overclock them from 25 to 33. And it was like you're...
Was that the one? I remember there was a processor that you can overclock, but you had to bridge two connections with I think people use like a pencil in the graph.
And you would draw between them to try to get the pins connected.
Yeah.
Oh, the early days are crazy because you see all these big heat sinks and stuff, which have been common. But in the earliest days, right after you got to i386 and i486, those socketed chips didn't even have heat sinks on them. We were hacking and modding them by putting heat sinks on them so we could overclock them. The stock did not require a heat sink. Like out of the box, they could just run that one.
Yeah, now it's the norm. Like you have to have one now. So Yeah.
Oh yeah, and Retro Machine said swap the crystals from the 30 to 40. Yes, I had done some crystal swapping. You'd solder off the crystal chip on it. Boy, it was in the early days. There's a lot of neat stuff you could do, and I was more into hardware when I first got in. I'm less into I want to get back into hardware, but like there's so much software. It's trying to find the time to play with.
Oh yeah.
All these fun things and everything else.
Oh yeah, and playing with other variants of these. I mean, you can.
That thing is too cool.
So and I don't want to go over time too much. I'm starting to get into LoRa and LoRaWAN.
Okay.
So it's a wireless protocol that can go miles. So I bought these two modules, like I want to say $25 each, and I tested it, and with my initial tests, I'm getting up to 3.5 mile range with them. So just right out of the box. With a omnidirectional antenna, 3.5 miles, no problem.
Nice.
So it's really fun stuff to play with.
And because I seen Xavier still on here, hold on. I'll just point this out, and he's gonna laugh when I say it. We got some, good old default creds on this right here, and I'll get this little plugged in for you. So Xavier discovered and tweeted this today. Someone figure out how to. You ever use Zero Tier?
No.
It's a really interesting open source SD-WAN solution. I've done some videos on it, and one of the cool things is someone figured out a way, because this runs Linux, how to get Zero Tier on here. The way Zero Tier works is it's cross-platform, Windows, Mac, Linux, and Android, and everything else. It adds a second network adapter with a private IP address on there, and you control it all through a web interface. So I add Zero Tier here to this computer, and when the two computers are in the same room on the same network, they can talk direct. That's easy. When you take your computer back to Oregon, I still can talk to it through UDP hole punching.
Wow.
And I'm just on network. So what is that tool called from years ago that used to be popular for gaming? Hamachi, that LogVPN.
Hamachi, yeah.
Yeah, exact same concept, but all open source.
It was wasn't that just a VPN solution?
It's kind of like a VPN. They implemented a little bit different, but the concept's the same. You just end up with this private network on here, and you have a private network. As a matter of fact, we can get a group of us together, and we can all have this private space of IPs that are all secondary adapter.
Yeah.
We've actually been testing this with some of the client stuff, so we can load it on a Raspberry Pi, take it to a client, no matter what. I don't have to map the firewall or anything. I just out from my Zero Tier SSH into that. Xavier went a step further and proved you can load Zero Tier on a phone, and then load Zero Tier, which they have the phone app. This is where it gets cool. He loaded then on his pen testing system. And then he loaded Burp Suite, and then he could Burp Suite the apps on the phone because they'll also talk to the Zero Tier. So now he did his pen testing, and it's just wild.
And I've done something similar, but with reverse SSH. So I wrote a script that wherever you drop my Raspberry Pi, it'll reverse SSH back to a server.
Okay.
And it'll continuously monitor the connection and then open up the. What's that?
You have it on GitHub?
I don't. Well, and actually, it might be gone because I had a Raspberry Pi at work.
Oh.
We've got the sliding door. It opens and closes.
Yeah.
And I've got a switch on it, a read switch. And every time it opened, I had the Star Trek door sound play.
Okay.
And actually, while I was in town, I was trying to fix it. But the file system's corrupt. So I may have lost the code. I'll rewrite it, though. And put it on GitHub so I don't lose it again.
Yeah, Xavier's like, when he worked for GM, he's like, he did a reverse SSH, got him in trouble there.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, there are ways that it depends on what network you're on and whatnot, but it works surprisingly well.
And one of the things that Zero Tier is, Xavier, I think, and he can probably comment on this, a lot of SIM tools don't seem to notice it. They don't recognize it because the protocol it's using is...
It's just SSH.
Yeah. Well, the Zero Tier has their own protocol, all using UDP. And it's just off the radar. And they're doing... the way they do the UDP hole punching is they have a whole lot of stuff living in different Amazon servers, so nothing about it is suspicious. Not in the IP it uses. It connects to standard AWS infrastructure to figure out where all the nodes are and all the nodes there, and then it just bridges the gap with UDP hole punching to get them all talking to each other. A lot of SIM tools just seem to ignore it, which we thought was really interesting, too.
At least for now.
For now, they do.
Yeah,
it's not enough
we'll
on
see
the radar.
In the future, but it's that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Zero Tier and Console Pi for the win. Yep.
Wow. I'm gonna have to look into that. That's pretty awesome.
Xavier said it's because the egress is never on UDP traffic, which is a good point. It's it's a lot harder to track the UDP traffic.
Yeah.
So that explains it.
Interesting.
We've set it up here. We were doing some testing here. I gave Xavier a VM so he could poke at my rack over here to pen test some stuff. So
Oh, nice.
That's actually so part of what we do sometimes in studio is this stuff. Anything on this rack is like fair game to poke at because it's not customer related, and that's how we do some of the testing. So Xavier from home has been poking at this stuff in here.
Oh, that's cool.
Some of these servers and
Gotta love technology.
yeah, because our goal is to do some. This is why. 4 firewalls we got to test. We got a Sophos here. We're gonna poke at, find some.
Sophos firewall. Oh, interesting.
They have an interesting integration they're doing. So,
Huh.
low-powered firewall and Sophos' integration loads a certificate on the computer, and the Sophos antivirus talks to this.
Okay.
So if the Sophos antivirus detects a problem with the computer, it talks to the firewall to see all the connections, not just from itself. It actually communicates directly all as one integrated product. It's kind of neat.
Okay. So it does SSL offloading and
Yes.
can actually do packet inspection
Yep.
within SSL.
And if it detects a system, it tells the firewall, shut that computer down.
Okay.
So it's not just the local account trying to do it, it communicates to that, and that
that's
creates
cool.
another way to stop it on the network. So we're just playing with other,
Yeah.
but like all these tools, they all claim magic. And you've probably heard of Cylance and their machine learning and all the marketing they have behind it. And did you see how they got pwned?
I haven't seen that now.
So Cylance, they found out by taking and someone found out the wonderful write-up. I think I tweeted it a couple weeks ago, and I did a video about it. What they did was they found out that it assigns a machine learning score of trust this thing, don't trust this thing. Games, trust. So someone took a game, the executable for a game, and literally just concatenated the virus as the back end of the game. And it turned out they found the flaw that Cylance was only looking at the first part. And once the first part of an executable was determined to be on the safe list, it would execute the second part automatically. So they took all these things that even Virus Total said that's a virus, and the machine learning says I trust this because this game is known safe. And it would execute the second part of it. And it's funny because the guy has this incredible write-up of all the testing he did on it, and he was also so disappointed that this stupid thing of literally no special tooling needed, just concatenating 2 files together with an executable worked. He's like, how did this work? Like, he was real impressed with the product for the first half of the write-up, and then he's like, I tried everything, man. This thing is as good as they say.
Yeah.
Except when I attach an executable of a game that's trusted to a virus, it just executes it automatically.
It's always something like it's always something simple that defeats the system.
Yeah, it's
because
really...
no one thinks to look for that stuff,
Exactly. So that's it. Xavier's got to go. He says if you have time, come join us at How They Got Hacked tomorrow. We record that a live show here.
Oh, nice.
Where we break down hacking. So I don't know how long you're in town for or what you have time for.
I'll see if I'm not with family. What time?
We record at 7 p.m. on Friday nights.
I'll have to see.
Yeah, you got stuff. I get it.
Yeah.
You also are like at an hour to drive north, so.
Yeah.
All right, well, thanks for everyone that joined, and thank you to our special guest. I follow him on Twitter. He posts some fun stuff. Maybe he'll post more about all this stuff he's doing.
Oh, yeah, definitely can.
Yeah. It's always fun. Keep your tinfoil hat tight. Keep your 2-factor turned on.
Definitely.
Hit the like button before you leave, and if you watch this video in post, hit it again. So I think you can hit it twice. I wonder if YouTube does it. Does it let people with the live stream hit it differently than after when it... I don't know. I can't decide. That's a YouTube problem. Thanks.
Don't smoke bees.
Don't smoke bees. I'll tell that story sometime. We're laughing earlier.
X-Tough.